What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle, and yes, today we are doing another 12-team mock draft from the third spot. This time we're going to be using Yahoo. Again, we're trying to do as many mock drafts as we can this summer using different platforms. If you do play on Yahoo, I think it's typically half PPR. So if this is a huge video for you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. We're sitting at the third spot here, so it really doesn't matter to me what we do. We're going to take a running back with this one. I think it's really the only answer. I did put Alvin Kamara on the thumbnail here, but with half PPR, that's going to kind of boost Derrick Henry just a little bit for me. So we'll see what we come up with. Especially what's going to dictate our draft is that second and third round, what we do to decide to add with our running back at that point there. Oh man, we just missed Aiden getting into the mock draft with us. We're probably going to do, I don't know, sleeper mock draft is fun to do. ESPN are fun. I'm going to try to find a couple other formats too, but PPR is typically my main game. But we're going to go with half PPR today. Let me see if I can pull up my flexes here. And let's just kind of filter here by half PPR. I'm going to see what comes up here. So Christian McCaffrey is by far away the #1 running back here for me. I got Kamara as my #2 in half PPR. Derrick Henry. Dalvin Cook falls a little bit for some reason, which is interesting. And then Nick Chubb is my 5th running back. But these guys are all so close. I have Kamara, Cook, and Henry separated by 4 points in half PPR here. So it's going to be an interesting it's a decision here, but just use your preference. I think the ability to get Alvin Kamara in the top 3 this year. No Michael Thomas for who knows how long, at least half the season. It sounds like 6 to 8 weeks in that time frame. I think Kamara is going to be the heavy focal point of that offense. It makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, Kamara is I think he is becoming my #2. Let me check my even my full PPR standings. And I'm kind of just waiting to see who the quarterback is going to be. And yeah, there it is. Kamara is my #2 running back, even in full PPR. So if we can get Kamara here, we'll see what the board tosses us here. Is there a way to turn off this ad here on the bottom? We're going to turn the sound off. I want to get rid of this little ad here on the bottom, but let's try to get Kamara. We'll see what happens. And we just missed Aiden, so that stinks. And I agree. I tend to agree. I think Jameis should be the quarterback, but you're still going to see Taysom Hill mixed in, whether they bring him in on red zone looks. Like there's still going to be some plays for Taysom Hill. And it's just a matter of Jameis doesn't turn the ball over. He should be in good shape there as long as he's scoring touchdowns and handing the ball off and dumping it off to Kamara. But who's going to step up in Michael Thomas's place? I mean, they signed Chris Hogan. I don't know if that's going to do it for me. They might be a team that makes a trade, or training camp trade during the month of August. We'll see what happens. But anyways, we are up and the draft is rolling. You see Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, and get our man, Alvin Kamara. I'm going to try to stay true to my board as much as I can in this one. We're going to go ahead and just select AK41 here on our team. And I'm just trying to get I've done a Yahoo mock draft about a week or so ago. So it shows my team over here. I'm just looking to see. That's the board there. Is there a way to, you guys like seeing the grid? I don't know the draft board positions by grid. I like the draft board. I don't know if this is helpful for you guys, but we'll kind of leave that up and we'll click back to the players when we go up. But man, at this point, if you get one of the top 3-4 picks, you're likely to take a running back, almost no matter what scoring format you play in. And then that second and third round, we need to nail our picks. So yeah, Hogan was playing pro lacrosse. I saw that. Fun athlete. I hope he can make the team. But yeah, that pecking order over there is Traquan Smith and then probably Marquez Callaway. Those guys, are both smaller receivers. They need, I think, someone maybe a little bit bigger. As far as trades, I don't know who they go acquire. It's probably going to – the guy that makes a lot of sense to me is, like, I could see them needing a guy like Tim Patrick from Denver. Something like that could be a lot of fun. Just a bigger body receiver that can kind of just, bully up against the cornerbacks. So just look at all this red here. The first 6 picks, running backs, Derrick Henry, JT, Saquon Barkley. There's Tyreek Hill, Ezekiel Elliott, Nick Chubb. And I'm excited. I mean, the first day of real training camps for all teams was here. And I'm excited to see where the pack players are going. You see Aaron Jones go right after Nick Chubb here. That looks like #10 overall. Devontae Adams. I think Devontae Adams should be the first wide receiver off the board. And it looks like they chose Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs for him. And yeah, Callaway is nice. Callaway, he did have a couple good games. early in the season. I can't remember what his injury was, but he kind of got lost in the shuffle of things at the back half. But he did have a couple nice games, and he can be like a little PPR, little water bug wide receiver for us. But we go an entire first round here in this mock draft, and there's no Davante Adams. I think that might be a mistake. And the way that I have, these are my projections. You can get access to them on the fantasyfellowship.com. Just do the purchase the draft kit for $15 deal. And I have my projection document here. Davante Adams is sitting as my third best player on the board if you're just filtering it by flexes, which is interesting. He's still not on the off the board. Calvin Ridley goes ahead of him. They got Davante Adams ADP suppressed in this one kind of a lot. I don't know if I agree with this. He's still on the board. This is nuts. Justin Jefferson goes over Davante Adams. I like all these guys, but I'm taking Rodgers and Davante Adams. I'm taking that duo over all the ones that we're looking at. Tyreek Hill, you could probably make an argument, but I still like Stephon Diggs too. And there you see Adams. The guy gets Tyreek Hill and Davante Adams. That would be a dream day scenario. I'm curious if you guys are watching or listening. When do you guys usually do when's your big redraft? Like your home league, whatever you call it. When do you guys usually do your draft, like the in-person draft? For me, it's always Labor Day weekend. So a lot of what's going on now, the mocks, again, they're just practice. And we'll kind of get things fired up and tuned in for Labor Day weekend. But then Najee Harris goes right before we go here. You see the run of receivers so far. Tyreek, Diggs, Ridley, Justin Jefferson, Devontae, and A.J. Brown all off the board. I was hoping to get A.J. Brown. I put him in the thumbnail for a reason. But a ton of red, a ton of blue wide receivers, and we are up to pick. We got 30 seconds here. DK Metcalf sticks out as the best half PPR player for me. We could go tight end, but I think I got 19 seconds. Let me see real quick. DK Metcalf's my 8th best player, and there's really nobody else close. I'm going to go ahead and land one DK Metcalf to be my wide receiver 1 in half PPR leagues. And again, I have DK going off for about 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns. Let's pull up FF today and you can see where DK was at last year. I think the new offensive coordinator is going to help disguise Seattle's intentions a little bit. I think they're going to be a little bit more fun offense to watch this season, a little more unpredictable, maybe just even if it's like 1 or 2% more passing calls played or passing calls called, we should see a little bit more from DK. Last year, he went off for 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns, 83 heads. I'm hoping they expand his route tree just a little bit, and we begin to see DK become more of a possession receiver. We know he can do the deep ball. We know he can get open deep, but I just want to see some more underneath stuff. So after we take DK, Clyde Edwards, Keenan, Allen, Terry McLaurin all go off the board. So at this point, all the receivers and the running backs have been hit up pretty hard. We could take a guy like Darren Waller here. Let me see where Waller is. He is technically my 19th best player. Let's go ahead and take Darren Waller. I think in a half PPR league, there is some advantage to getting a tight end, and he's third. I guess technically he's the second tight end off the board. And just again, with my flex rankings, I have him as a 19th overall player, scoring more points than guys like Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon. A guy like Darren Waller is going to benefit in a half PPR league. And I just want to show you, just looking at the running backs last season, we should probably start with the tight ends. Just last year, Darren Waller himself in PPR scored 280 points. And for running backs, I know this is not half PPR, but for running backs, only 3 running backs scored more than Darren Waller in full PPR. So if we go to half PPR, that might be here. Is there a way to search? We can go to Yahoo here too, actually. So start with the tight ends again. So Darren Waller last season in half PPR scores 223 points. As far as running backs, only we'll include J-Rob here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 7 running backs scored more points than Darren Waller last year. So that's a really good indicator that Darren Waller does hold a lot of value. He can be your third round pick. I'm a fan of getting a tight end early. I either want one of the top 3 guys, or I'm waiting for Pitts maybe, and then otherwise I'm just calling it quits and I'm going to wait till the very end. So we start with a really well-balanced draft. We got DK, AK-41, and then Darren Waller. So I'm feeling pretty good here. We're grabbing, again, the best player on my board. I have rankings and cheat sheets. If you guys do get to the 21 draft kit, you're going to be able to click into here, and you're going to see all the goodies that I got. This is the link for the projections document, which we've been looking at already. You're going to get access to my cheat sheets too. something more custom, you can hit me up. But these are downloadable. So like if you click them, it's going to open up the cheat sheet that you guys can bring to your draft kit and check everything off. The bye weeks on here and defense and kickers, whatever you guys need. Check out the 2021 draft kit. But we are moving here. I'm going to go back to the draft board here. I'm interested in CeeDee Lamb, guys. He is a mid-third round pick right now. Michael Gallup just tweaked his ankle yesterday. I'll see if I can find that video a little bit later. But Michael Gallup, like, he was going for a pass at the back of the end zone, and he ended up continuing to run and flipped over the media fence and kind of tweaked his ankle. So he might be off his feet for like a couple practices. So you got Gallup banged up, and you have Amari Cooper, who's still not practicing with his ankle injury. So that leaves CeeDee Lamb as the one guy who's like grinding and working with the #1 offense right now. I'm all about CeeDee Lamb. I think I might end up pushing him up. I think I already have him above Amari Cooper in my rankings. Let me double check that. I guess since we're doing half PPR, let me go to half PPR. So CeeDee Lamb, I got CeeDee Lamb in half PPR as my wide receiver 12. Cooper is number 15. So I'm a huge fan of CeeDee Lamb. I just ordered his jersey today. I got one of the new blue jerseys. So we got a fresh new CD jersey coming our way. But anyways, we're moving here into the middle of the 4th round. You see, again, a lot of running backs starting to come off the board. Swift, Carson. DeAndre Swift falling to the 4th round seems like a really good screaming value. I would take him over the Bucs receiver, Godwin and Evans. I'd take him over Cooper. He's probably in that tier around CeeDee Lamb. If I had to decide between Swift and Lamb, depend on what I was taking earlier in the draft. But Julio Jones just goes off the board. He's got a weird potential scandal going on out there. It could be in some law trouble. We'll monitor that. But we got 2 quarterbacks off the board, Mahomes and Allen. My strategy for quarterbacks is I want to get a top 5 quarterback, but I don't want to pay a top 5 price. I don't want to be the first guy to take a quarterback off the board. If I were to take a quarterback off the board, it's going to be someone that just falls a little bit too late. So we're up to pick here. Again, we have a well-balanced draft, 1 wideout, 1 running back, and 1 tight end. So now we get to kind of do whatever we want. They're saying Gaskin, Lockett, Thielen. I like Kyle Pitts here. It's a little bit early for that, but the quarterbacks are looking pretty good here. We already have DK. Do we take Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson? We have 7 seconds to make a pick. I'm going to go ahead here and just take Tyler Lockett. And I know we already have DK Metcalf, but the theory here is I typically wouldn't do that. I just think in this format, Tyler Lockett does have a lot of value in my half PPR receivers. He is wide receiver 14. So even though I probably wouldn't do the real drafts, I'm going to have fun with this roster. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. If you take some of both those guys' parts, they're probably going to hit 30 to 40 fantasy points for me on a weekly basis. And again, that new exciting offense is just fun to think about. But I want to look at running backs real quick. ETN, Hunt, Davis, Sermon. They're pumping up a lot of these guys here. Wide receivers, Ayuk. I like Deontay. I like T. Higgins, Odell Beckham here in the 5th round could be a lot of fun. But Brandon Ayuk was having a really good practice today. I'm going to take Brandon Ayuk here. There was a tweet that I saw from one of the beat writers. Brandon Ayuk caught 5 passes with the ones today. No other player, running back, wide receiver, tight end, caught more than 2. So Ayuk has a little bit of step in the lead right now for targets, and he's going to be our flex value here for us. So if I was not going to take Tyler Lockett, I might have taken Deontay Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, ETN is there. I probably should have just taken a quarterback. I probably should have just taken Lamar Jackson or a quarterback there. So we have Metcalf and Lockett. I don't really care to stack, but man, if we could get, just imagine if we go get Russell Wilson now on this team. Let me see where Russ Wilson is on this list. So we still got some time. If we can get a crazy stack here, Russell Wilson, Lockett, and Metcalf, that'd be kind of fun. I'd be curious to see how many points those 2 guys combined for each week last season. But with Metcalf, you're getting a top 5 wide receiver. And again, the rankings of having a Tyler Lockett, he's my wide receiver 14. He's well ahead of a lot of these guys that I have on my board. I did have Deontay, wide receiver 19. Ayuk is a little bit, but I think I might start tweaking some things and making him step out a little bit more than Debo. I have Debo at wide receiver 28. So I'm probably going to push Brandon Ayuk up just a little bit, pump those numbers, maybe switch them. Let's go back to the draft board here. So we're cruising to the end of the 5th round. Kyle Pitts goes off in the 5th round. I really like Kyle Pitts. And the reason why I could have maybe passed on Darren Waller in the 3rd round And since Kyle Pitts is going to be a pretty dang good player, especially if you get any half PPR players. Let me go back and look where I have Kyle Pitts. Kittle's the 31, 30. No, he's the third best player. Kyle Pitts is down here quite a bit. So he's down here with Hawkinson as my 85th best player. So maybe it does make sense. Maybe I'm glad I tagged one Darren Waller here. But we're through 5 rounds. You got 5 quarterbacks off the board. This is the kind of the consensus top 5: Mahomes, Allen, Dak, Murray, Lamar. If you want one of the quarterbacks, if you just want to say, I'm going to be the guy that takes the 5th quarterback on board, whether that's Dak or Lamar, whatever you want to do, I think that's a really good strategy. I think Dak Prescott's got a huge upside into him in the 5th round. Like, there's so many bust potentials in this 5th round here, and I think Dak, Kyler, or Lamar are going to bust. So the 5th round is kind of when I begin to think about quarterbacks if you want a top tier one. But man, there's some sleeping giants left at QB. You got Russ Wilson, Herbert, Aaron Rodgers. Those will be my next tier guys that I would be really, really interested in snagging. And we're almost up to pick here. You're starting to see some more receivers kind of dabble off the board. We're going to get some running backs. That's kind of the thing I've been looking at too, is when you get a stud running back like Kamara, McCaffrey, you get a top 5 running back, you're not going to need you only need one other running back. So I'm okay with making like a platoon, maybe 3 or 4 guys that I'm going to play matchups with. I'm going to kind of lock in a running back that can at least just be 10 to 12 PPR or half PPR points in this instance. So we missed on Russ Wilson. So we should start looking around here for the running backs like Aiden had mentioned. There's a couple guys here that make sense. James Robinson at this point in a half PPR league. I wouldn't mind a piece of that. We do need a quarterback still. We're going to probably wait on that a little bit. Michael Carter was getting some buzz today. He could be a potential a fun pick here. As far as I'm going to go ahead and take James Robinson. Shout out Aiden here. And Robinson's a good back. I know a lot of people are excited about ETN, but I still think if the Jaguars get near the goal line, ETN probably just going to be used, as the passing down back, and James Robinson's going to be their banger in between the tackles. So we lock in a James Robinson here. And again, my thinking is with my RB2, I don't really care who I'm plugging in there. I'm going to probably draft about 3. I want 3 running backs that I could potentially plug in as my running back too. So like guys like Damian Harris, who just went off the board. Dang it. I'm really into just having a platoon of running backs that I can plug in there. At quarterback, Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be going off this late. I'll show you guys where I have him in my projections, and he's part of the thumbnail, so he gets the nod here as our quarterback. So our starting lineup is set. Let me just show you where I got Rod at the QB spot. He's my QB4. I think they're clear top 7 this year, and Tom Brady and Herbert are really close, but there's kind of a slight drop off from these guys. But I have between Mahomes and Russell Wilson, quarterbacks 1 through 7, it's a difference of 23 fantasy points for me, which is less than 1 point per game. So the idea is, for me, I want one of these quarterbacks. I'm going to take whoever is the cheapest. I want to get quarterback 5, 6, or 7 off the board. I really don't care who it is. That's just been the strategy I've been doing the last few years. It's worked really well for me, and the potential to get a top 5 quarterback is pretty solid. And Minshew, yeah, I did see that. Minshew got the reps with the ones today. That's probably just a precautionary thing. They're going to keep, it sounds like they're going to rotate reps with the ones each day, which is kind of interesting. But anyways, our starting lineup right now, it looks like Aaron Rodgers as our QB1. We have wide receivers DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Alvin Kamara, James Robinson as our 2 running backs. We got Darren Waller locked in the number 2, maybe the number 1 tight end, and we got Brandon Ayuk as a flex. So from this point on, I'm throwing haymakers at running back and wide receiver to see just how many useful players that we can get. And I want to just pull up, because this is interesting. I've never done a mock draft where I landed both DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So I'm just curious, in a half PPR league, DK Metcalf had, I guess in the regular season, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games with double-digit fantasy points. And then Tyler Lockett here, let's see, I guess week 17, I'm not going to count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Lockett had only 5 games of double-digit points. Maybe that kind of gets evened out this year again with the new offense and some help there at the tight end position. But man, this is a fun, high-powered offense here, and Minshew means good for running backs. Yeah, I'm excited about the Jacksonville offense. I just don't know how it's going to work out. I still think James Robinson's going to be the leading guy with all as far as getting carries. And I would expect ETN gets more work as a receiver, but this is cool. Like, even if James Robinson doesn't work out for us, we built in some upside here as our running back too. Again, he was RB7 last year. If we're purely looking at drafting a running back here, we're actually going to filter it to flex. But we could get Dillon as a backup running back. We could get my guy is James Conner. You guys know me. I really, really, really like James Conner this year, so he's going to be my next pick. Our turn is next here. It says I like Mostert, I like Melvin Gordon, I like David Johnson, but they're all kind of older, unexciting running backs. Debo Samuel, we already got Ayuk. Tyler Boyd, interesting. Curtis Samuel's on the pup list. Jerry Jeudy could be kind of fun. But for me, I'm just going to get my James Conner. I love James Conner. I think he's my RB25. If you've watched my videos, you guys know how much I'm excited about Conner. And no, DJ Chark is kind of off my board. I'm with Aiden on this one. I want LaVisca, or if you miss on Visca or DJ Chark, Marvin Jones might be a sleeper. But I think you should probably try to think about with at least one Jaguar in this offense. I think it can be a fruitful offense. And we don't expect them to win a lot of games, but we expect them to learn a lot and grow as a young team. So here we are. We are rolling through. It looks like is this the 9th round right now? Our running back group is starting to take form here. We got AK41, James Robinson, and James Conner. And again, Conner in my flex rankings here. Let me just pull up my half PPR numbers for running backs. I have James Conner as my RB25. I have him getting almost 900 yards on the ground, 9 touchdowns running, and a little bit of work as a receiver. I think he's going to really inherit Kenyon Drake's role and perform pretty well with that role. I'm not thinking that Chase Edmonds is built for a full workload. I like Chase Edmonds, but he's more of a full PPR guy in my perspective here. We could take another running back here. Let me see if there's anybody that sticks out. A.J. Dillon, kind of a handcuff here. Nobody really sticks out to me. A.J. Dillon could be nice. He's a guy that could just sit on our bench, and if they do decide to go more run heavy, that could work out. As far as wide receivers, real quick, I got to snag Antonio Brown. So we're going to snag AB here. We didn't get any Tampa Bay players. That's one of the offenses that I think you need to make sure you grab a player of. Antonio Brown down the stretch last year. Let me show you what we were up to. He was kind of Tom Brady's favorite receiver down the stretch. And because of Antonio Brown, it makes me a little bit gun-shy on drafting Godwin and Evans in the 4th round, just because I can get an Antonio Brown here deep in the 9th round, and I don't really have to pay a cost for him. I'm getting potentially a number 1 receiver for him. Not a number 1 receiver, but kind of like a 1C. He's a 1C in this offense. So if I filter here by Yahoo, let's see. Down the stretch, when Antonio Brown kind of got settled in here, weeks 14, 15, 16, your fantasy playoffs, you're going to see a 7.4, a 17.8, 11.5 in the fantasy playoffs. And then week 17, he just goes nuts, 31.3 fantasy points. But really strong end to his season. I think people are kind of underrating what he can do. So he's going to be our 4th receiver for us. And again, he can be a guy that we trust, maybe even more than Tyler Lockett on a weekly basis. We'll see what happens. But this is going fun so far. And the thing I want to stretch, if you guys are still watching, to me, it's all about getting your flexes. You want to load up as many good players on your bench as possible. It's a war of attrition, fantasy football is. You want to make sure you have all the answers on your team during the draft day, and then you got to make sure you add free agents. You want to continue to trim your roster and make sure your team is sent top to bottom. But just looking at everything right now, I think we're looking like a pretty deep team so far. So we're going to go back and filter by all players. I don't think we need another quarterback, so I'm going to actually filter by flex. And at this point, like, I really don't care what position we get. We got Darren Waller. We could take a backup tight end. We're allowed to put one in the flex if we really choose so, but I don't really see anybody here sticking out to me. We have not gotten a Dallas Cowboy yet, so my guy Michael Gallup is sticking out here. Really interesting move. When do you draft Michael Thomas? Should we throw Michael Thomas on this bench? I mean, if we can hold the fort, like if we can go like 4-2 to start the season, then you get Michael Thomas back. Like, holy crap! Now we're talking. When Michael Thomas first got injured, people were still taking him in the 7th, 8th round. But at this point, Michael Thomas becomes an interesting value really like Laviska Shenault here too. Michael Gallup, Laviska Shenault, Michael Thomas. Those are kind of the values here. Taking backup running backs is fine. I guess you could argue we have backup running back James Conner, James Robinson, but I kind of view those guys as the bangers in their offense. Zach Moss, kind of the same thing. He's kind of the banger of Buffalo Bills offense. Not too many bell cow. I mean, we're in the 10th round here. You're not going to find a bell cow running back. So we're loading up on wide receiver here. We only need to start 2 running backs. So we're going to continue to search for those guys. Let me see if I can find some sleepers here. I mean, Kenyon Drake is interesting. He's going to catch a lot of passes. Tony Pollard could be a little backup, security blanket for you. Anything happens to Zeke, Jamal Williams, Devin Singletary. Like, there's really nothing left here on the running back board that intrigues me. So I'm just going to continue to make my team better. We're going to go to the wide receivers. I think the cream of the crop's at wideout right now. And I don't mind going into my draft knowing I have a weakness in one of my lineups. I have Alvin Kamara. Technically, I'm only weak at running back 2 right now. We have James Robinson or James Conner to plug that in. If those guys aren't cutting it for me, we got free agency. You got trades. Drafting a bunch of depth at the wide receiver position right now is going to allow me to, okay, Tyler Lockett, man, who wants Tyler Lockett in the trade? I'll trade you for an RB2. So that's a common mistake I see with a lot of people drafting is they draft to fill needs. I don't have needs. I need to continue drafting good players. That's my most important lesson, I think. And then, I don't know, Laviska Shenault, Michael Thomas here. I have a feeling we're not going to get Michael Thomas if we wait any longer. And, man, our team is just going to be stacked with wide receivers here. But we have the room. And what's cool, too, is if your league has an IR spot, you're going to be able to put Michael Thomas on the IR. I love the idea of Laviska Shenault here, so this is tough. So this is the point here. We're in the middle of the 11th round. I'm going to take Laviska Shenault. I think I like him better as a player and as a person. But Michael Thomas, man, this is the zone here where you could kind of build a light wide receiver start here, and then you can start grabbing these wide receivers at the end like Michael Thomas that could put you over the top. So we have 2 more bench spots to fill. We should probably look towards running back. As far as tight end, I'm not sure. At this point, is anyone going to change our season here? Jasicki, Irv Smith, Troutman, Hooper, Jonnu. I'm interested in Ferkser. I like Irv Smith too, so we can maybe snag another tight end yet as a backup. And then for running backs, who's going to change our season here? Without clarity or some injury happening, I really don't know. So to me, I'm not afraid to go into my draft again or come out of my draft knowing I have weakness. I need to improve at running back. But look at my bench. We got James Conner, Antonio Brown, Gallup, Laviska Shenault. These are players that people are going to want at some point. If someone's, on the inverse side of me and they got 4 or 5 running backs that they like, maybe I can go shopping and work some trades. Pretty much there's 3 to 4 things that you need to do in fantasy football to win a championship. You need to draft well, but you also need to be smart with the waiver wire and free agents, and you need to try to make some trades. A trade or 2 a season could be the thing that puts your team over the top. So don't be afraid to have a small weakness at one position. Flexing, I guess, kickers and defense, I don't really care what we do. Most of the leagues that I play in, I don't play it. We'll wait for those guys to be the last 2 picks. If you want to take a defense a little bit earlier, I really think Washington football team defense is going to be a fun one this season. Again, maybe we take a Devin Singletary. I don't know. It just kind of feels like we're reaching here to get a player. Whereas if we really, really wanted to, we should probably just filter by flex and just lock up. Michael Thomas if he's going to last this long, I'm going to probably take Michael Thomas and then say we'll figure out running back later, a running back 2. We got James Robinson. And then one thing I want to show you guys too is a reason for optimism with James Robinson. I'm trying to pull up the Jaguars schedule here. Let's look at their first 3-4 games of this season. Let's see here, the Jaguars. So they're going to get the Texans, worst team in the league. They're going to get the Broncos. The Broncos got a good defense. Then they get the Cardinals. That doesn't really scare me for defense. They get the Bengals. Don't scare me for defense. And they get the Titans. James Robinson could be a useful running back, too, to start the year. I actually think Jacksonville could maybe win 3 or 2 of those games. So don't be afraid of looking at schedules and seeing who's kind of got an easier start. Let me see here. rookie draft, dynasty, Rashad Bateman or Michael Carter. If this is full PPR, I'm going to go Michael Carter. I think that's a really good question. Thanks for hanging out with us, Matt. Just not knowing what your roster construction is or what, like, who you already have for running back or wide receiver. I really like Rashad Bateman. It just makes me nervous because Lamar Jackson really doesn't have a lot of wide receivers and tight ends that he can lift into fantasy relevancy. He's really only been able to hold two guys, Marcus Brown and Andrews. If you think one of those guys is going to go away, I think you could see something in Rashad Bateman. I really like the player, but for me, Carter, just a little tick ahead of him. There's some excitement with the New York Jets offense. We don't know what Wilson's going to do, but it sounds like Michael Carter got the reps with the ones right away today. He's a really good passer, so if it's full PPR, I think I'm going to lean Michael Carter, and it's typically because rookie running backs tend to get more work right away. I think he could be more useful for you this year than Rashad Bateman. And again, the Ravens, the pecking order for touches, Lamar is going to be the most useful guy. J.K. Dobbins is probably the next guy. Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, they really don't have much room, left for fantasy success after that, unless you're going to remove something from Marquise or Mark Andrews. And at that point, it's going to be kind of muted. I do think Bateman could be the number one there of the future, but that's a little bit of, a question. We really don't know. So I'm going to say, give me Michael Carter in this instance. Thank you for the question. So we got two more flex spots to pick here. Michael Thomas was off the board already. Let me see. Irv Smith, I like a good backup tight end. Irv Smith is a fun one. Mike Williams is pretty cheap here. We are up to draft. I could just look at running back real quick. Philip Lindsay. I'm going to take a flyer on Philip Lindsay. I think he's a really good running back still. I know the Houston Texans are not a fun offense, but David Johnson's another year older. They have Mark Ingram, Rex Burkhead. They're kind of dealing with some older running backs here. Philip Lindsay, who knows? He could have a good season. And again, the mindset I'm drafting with right now is my real draft is not happening until Labor Day. So I'm just kind of open to ideas. And again, this is experimental. So if you guys like the ideas I'm laying down, don't be afraid to leave a thumbs up, leave me a comment. What's been my best pick so far? I'm still questioning my own Tyler Lockett pick here, so I'm not perfect, but I'm having fun with it. And quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield. We're going to take Justin Fields here just for funsies. And our bench is set. We got some really good players here to pull up off the bench. I don't know about Phil Lindsay. We'll see. We'll make a decision based on training camp and whatnot. But that's pretty much it. Let me kind of go back to the draft results here. I mean, you're seeing, auto-drafted kickers and defenses and stuff in here. I don't ever want to take a kicker or defense that high. That's just me. I'd rather have more flex depth. And yeah, I kind of regret doing it. But what sucks is when you look at the end of the season, he's going to be up there in the rankings, right? Like in full PPR, he's my wide receiver 12. In half PPR, though, he's my wide receiver 14. So if we're just drafting him based on the end of season stats, it could look nice. But I totally agree. It's probably going to be a little bit frustrating, like just super frustrating owning Tyler Lockett. I'm open to it. Last season, what did he do? I think if I'm playing full PPR, that makes Tyler Lockett more interesting to me. I mean, he's coming off of a career season. He averaged 16.6 fantasy points per game, but it's hard to see the success here. Week 17, it didn't count for fantasy, but he goes off for 12 catches, 9 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's got a floor of about 5 to 8 points, which had happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he had 7 dud games last season he played full 16. So 9 games out of 7, he was a wide receiver 3 at least. He had 1, 2, 3, 4 games over 20 points. So if you're interested, I think Tyler Lockett's a better PPR pick than he is a half PPR. But I don't know. We still got 2 more rounds to go here. I'm feeling the depth of this team looks pretty good. I'm gonna hide the My Q button. How do I? There we go. Now we can kind of see the full team here. So we started with what additions? Yes, Ferkser. I love Anthony Ferkser. Just think about that Titans offense, man. Someone just put them right here, but the allure waiting on tight end is very exciting to me. I could come away with a group of Irv Smith, Evan Ingram, and Anthony Firkser. Basically, any of these tight ends here after the 10th round, you can get a trio going here and just kind of play matchups and see what happens the first week or two. It seems every year there's going to be 1 or 2 tight ends that crack the top 10. Last year there's 2 of them that cracked the top 5 that just kind of come out of nowhere. So waiting on tight end, I really like Anthony Firkser. You just think about defending the Tennessee Titans. I mean, you got A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Derrick Henry. Anthony Firkser is going to be left untouched a lot of times. Wow, non-football injury list. What's up with that? Is that COVID related? I hope it's not COVID related. I'm interested if Yahoo allows me to not pick kickers and defenses. I don't want to pick a kicker and defenses. If you guys still play with kicker and defenses, that's fine. I can look at them real quick. The Washington kicker could be kind of fun. Arizona kicker, I like Matt Prater. Who do I care? I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and here and just click the Arizona guy. He's older. He knows what he's doing. And then for defense, I'm hesitant about New Orleans. I don't like the New Orleans offense. I do not. I don't know. New Orleans is weird to me. I still don't know how to read this team. They don't even know who their quarterback is yet. Can we really trust him? Besides Alvin Kamara, the only guy that I think we can trust on the Saints. As far as defenses that are available here, it's kind of, I mean, at this point, you're going to just be winging out a defense here. All of my leagues except one do not use defenses anymore. And if I do play defense leagues, I'm usually trying to grab 2. I mean, at this point, give me the Chargers. This should be a fun team to watch this year. So that's going to do it for this year's draft here. I'll go back to my board here for Justin. We got Aaron Rodgers in the 7th round. And I really like Ayuk. I think where you can get Ayuk right now, he's higher in certain platforms. Like I think on Yahoo, he's a little bit higher than he is on ESPN. But Brandon Ayuk, I got him as my wide receiver in round 5. I think he's got top 25 upside. He's going to be a guy that's going to be consistent in PPR and half PPR leagues. And I just think, man, he could be one of those second-year breakouts that nobody really sees coming. But the more training camp plays that he makes, we're going to hear how good the buzz over there. So I like Ayuk. Again, we're weak at running back, but I'm fine having a weak spot here. There's going to be trades to be had. We got a lot of players here. And the thing with James Robinson, I don't know if you missed it, but I went over the Jaguars schedule to start the season, and just here's what I'm thinking: if ETN is the guy, he's the guy, but he's probably not going to have more carries than James Robinson to start the year. And just looking at the Jaguars schedule here, week 1 Texans. I'm gonna want to start James Robinson against the Texans. I think. The Broncos, that game could be 50-50. They're going to run the ball a lot, though. I think they're going to try to run the ball as much as they can with Robinson and ETN and limit the mistakes that Lawrence could or may not make. The Cardinals, that could be an interesting game. The Bengals, the Titans, though. These first 5 games are pretty soft defenses besides the Broncos. We'll see what the Cardinals do. But I kind of like the start for James Robinson, and that's kind of the only thing I'm thinking about there. And yes, Alvin Kamara, especially after the Mike Thomas news. I'll show you here. I think this is half PPR filtered. Yeah, we're filtered by half PPR right here. I have Kamara as my number 2. In full PPR, we have Kamara as my number 2. So he's my number 2 pick. Super excited about Kamara. He's like the only guy I think you can trust on the New Orleans Saints. But I don't know. That's going to do it for today's video. Hope you guys liked it. I think tomorrow night I might go live. We'll do a training camp news. I'm out of town this weekend, so Thursday will be the last video of the week. I might do another one Sunday. So we'll come back with another mock draft for you guys on Sunday. But I don't know. Enjoy your Wednesday evening. Enjoy the NBA draft tomorrow. And I don't know. Take it easy. Have a good night. Peace.